Well, hello there, magic monsters. Welcome to the stream. So, I don't know if anyone's here yet, but moving this around. I was working on yesterday this deep dive video into the stats system. It's on the tutorial or on the game modules scripting docs site now, so you can check that out if you're interested in diving deeper into stats. But I want to make a few more. I don't think I'll have time. I'm going to release game modules this week. That's the subtext of all this. But I don't think I'm going to have time to do enough videos to do all of them, because there are a lot of game modules. There are a lot of different things here. And I touch on, like, stats touches on mastery levels. So, I mean, mastery levels isn't like complicated in the end. But other things like item objects, item attributes, deep dive there, conditions, quests, a lot going on there. So, you know, there could be some value in making deep dives. So, the question for you watching the video right now, should I make the item object and item attribute deep dive, or should I make the conditions deep dive? Those are the two that I'm thinking of doing right now. Those, I think, are going to be very popular for people to know about. And so I don't know which one I should do. So tell me right now which one I should do. And I should probably test my recording, make sure this music in the background isn't going to mess everything up. Let me see. Let's see. We're going to do a test here while I wait for you to tell me what to do. We're going to record a area, and it doesn't really matter what area. We're going to do this and record. And this is a test. And now this is an NPR test. Here on NPR, we're testing Game Modules 4. So this is a test to check out the audio, see if it messes up with the music in the background. Let's see. All right, I'm going to stop it now. And for now, let me just pause this, and then we'll play this and listen to it. And this is a test. And now this is an NPR test. Here on NPR, we're testing Game Modules 4. So this is a test to check out the audio, see if it messes up with the music in the background. Let's see. All right, I'm going to stop it now. Yeah, I can kind of hear it. So I guess we're not going to have the nice, fancy background music for this. Nobody's told me what to do yet. Why haven't you told me what to do yet? You got to tell me what to do. All right, I think conditions is going to be the easier one, because item objects gets into item attributes. You can't do item objects without item attributes, right? We can do multiple item attributes. We can demonstrate how item attributes can be used to modify stats. Yeah, I guess it's kind of I guess you can make 2 videos on that. Let's see. All right, let's create some conditions. We're going to do the conditions one. I'm going to start recording here. Let's see. Okay, delete this test one. Record an area. Record this area. And hello. Oh, thank you, Corey. That's exactly what I was planning on doing. Good. Whew. Glad we're on the same page. Now you're going to hear me mess up all the damn time. I do mess up. All right. We are recording now. Yep. Okay. Here we go. And by the way, if you are listening or watching and you feel like I skipped something or said something completely wrong or said the wrong word, which happens, let me know. Yeah, the feed does get delayed. The other night I was watching a movie. I'm going to pause this for a second. The other night I was watching a movie, Sum of All Fears, and I kept having every about 8 to 10 minutes I had to exit out and restart it just on Amazon. So it took only a few seconds, but the sync on the voices was getting noticeably off. And so I had to restart over and over. All right, here we go. Let's deep dive into conditions. So I've got the game modules window open here. I'm going to click on the conditions. We don't have any conditions yet in this project. So I'm going to create a bunch of buff conditions, conditions that help the player, that generally give an improvement to stats. Great. Now I'm going to create a few debuffs, things that harm the player. And now I'm going to create some damage. Let me restart that one. I'm also going to create some point effects that are going to affect the player in... Let me restart that too. I'm also going to create some point effects called damage and... Damage? Is it just damage? Just hit points? Yeah. I'm also going to create some instant effects that affect... I'm also going to create an instant health condition, which is going to be a type of instant. And this is going to be something that can damage or heal the player in... And this is something that you'll... And this is something that's going to damage the player or heal the player. And this is something that's going to damage the player or heal... Ugh, I can't talk, see? This is terrible. I can't talk. Not when I have to. And this is something that's going to heal the... And this is something that's going to heal the player or damage the player at runtime. There we go. All right, so like with all game module objects, you can view them inside the game modules window and edit them there, or you can select them in the inspector and edit them there. Anything that you change here does get changed in the inspector. They're editing the exact same object and they have basically the exact same options. The game modules window does have this nice list view that lets you set the timing for each one of these objects. For example, our buffs and debuffs are all going to be timed, while the instant health is going to be set as an instant condition, which means it's going to have one effect, then immediately destroy itself. So let's look at our haste here, and we're going to check out the top portion here to start. We have our display name. This is what's going to be used to display to the player inside the game. Now, it's possible to have a stronger version of haste. For instance, we can create a haste 2. And if we look down here, we can see that we can set haste. And now if we edit these side by side, we can change the display name of haste 2 to simply be haste. And that means we can also update the level to be perhaps level 2 and haste level 1. This means that whenever the haste 2 is given to the player, if the... Let me start that over. We also have this level option here. Generally speaking, the better or more powerful condition should be a higher level if it's the same thing. Like in this case, haste and haste 2 are both haste spells, are both haste conditions. Haste 2 is a higher level, so we'll give that level 2, and we'll keep this level 0. It could be 1 or 0, it just has to be underneath the next level up. And since they have the same display name, the system's going to treat these as the exact same condition. However, you have the option to either stack them or not stack them. If these can be stacked, then it means that multiple instances of the same object can be stacked on top of each other, so a player could have multiple hastes. Oftentimes, that's probably not what you intend, and so when stack is false, it means that a new... How should I say that? So when stack is false, a new instance of a condition will replace the existing one if it's a higher level. If it's not a higher level, then the timing will be expanded to be the longer of the two. Otherwise, it will be replaced by the higher level. In this case, if we already have haste and somebody gives us haste 2, then haste 2 will replace haste, but the player will just see the same display name in their UI. Does that make sense? I guess it makes sense. We also have a description here, which is very optional. We also have a description text box here, which is optional, and you can use this in your game if you'd like to provide a description in the UI or as an internal reminder to yourself on what exactly this condition is meant to be doing. And then we also have this neat function here, an expiration condition. I'm going to set this to be exhausted. And what this does is whenever the condition expires, it's going to automatically remove itself from the conditions list on the actor has the conditions. If this value is not empty, then this condition will now be given to the player. So in this case, when haste is expired, we're going to get the new condition exhausted, which is a debuff and will probably take away some stats from the player. Let's expand the condition time and dig into what options we have here. There are 5 different timing options for conditions. Just timed periodic, which means there's enough periodic effect that happens every so often, an instant action, which happens once and then destroys itself, an infinite condition, which never expires unless you actively remove it from the list, and an infinite periodic condition, which again never expires unless you remove it, but also has a periodic effect on points. To make a condition instant, simply click the instant button, and all the other options under condition time disappear because it's only going to happen once and then disappear. If you're going to make it infinite, click that, and again, all the other options disappear because it's infinite and it won't expire automatically. For haste, though, we do want it to expire, and we have the option to choose a minimum and a maximum. This is going to be set, the expiration time is actually going to be set when the condition is received, and it's going to be a value randomly chosen between minimum and maximum. Oftentimes, you'll just want these to be the same, so for this, I'm just going to set it to 5 and 5. And this is going to be based on the in-game minutes based on the game time module. Definitely check out the deep dive video into the game time module to learn more about that. Depending on how long your in-game minutes last, they default to 3 seconds per in-game minute, but you can also set it so that every 1 real-time second equals 1 in-game minute, in which case this would be 5 real-time seconds. You might want to modify these values to better suit your game. As it is now, this means that whenever haste is added to an actor, it will last for 5 in-game minutes and then expire. And when it expires, the exhausted condition will be given. We also have this other option here called stat required. This can change the amount of time that the condition lasts. And let me just make sure. And this stat is going to be focusing on the caster, the giver, the source of the condition. You can imagine in a game, a NPC provides a condition to the player, or a or some poison fruit gives the player a poison. That source of the condition is the entity that requires this stat in order to have an effect. So as an example, let's say that the haste condition comes from the air magic class of magic, and the caster might have air magic in order to give the condition to the player. If they do have this, we can extend the amount of time that the condition will last on a base value or on a per point. Wait. If the caster does have the air magic skill, if the caster does have the air magic spell, we can expand the time. We can increase or decrease the amount of time that haste. We can increase or decrease the amount of time the condition is active by saying we can increase or decrease the amount of time the condition is active per skill point in that air magic stat or per the final stat value. So for instance, if I just put 1 here and 1 here, that means it's going to last for 5 minutes plus 1 additional minute for every point that the caster has in air magic. If the caster doesn't have air magic or the caster is null, then this won't have any impact and there will only be a 5-minute time period for this condition. I can alternatively choose to add 1 here and 1 here, and then we'll add another minute for every then we'll add 1 minute times the final stat in air magic. Depending on your game, you may choose to use the skill points or you may choose to use the final stat. That's entirely up to you. Lookup tables. Okay. We also have the option to add a lookup table. Now, we haven't created any lookup tables in this project yet, so let's take an aside and create our first lookup table. I'm going to go back to the game modules here, click on the lookup tables, and I'm going to create a new lookup table called stat effects. And we'll make this a type of tables. And on our lookup tables here, you can see we have in our stat effect lookup tables here, we have a few options. So far, there is no actual value here. Lookup tables provide an output value if an input value has been given. I'm going to start like this. Lookup tables allow you to send in an input value and get an output value out of the table. This allows you to modify one value into another, which may be a more suitable output for your project. You can add values here simply by typing the input and outputs. You can, once populated, you can also set these values. I should undo those. Once populated, you can also set these values. And you can also order them by the input ascending, input descending, output ascending, output descending, or you can shuffle them randomly. Of course, if you have it set manually, then you can choose how they are ordered. You can also add many at a time. Let's say we wanted to add 10 and we start at 0, increment by 1. The output minimum is going to be 0. The output maximum we can set to 20, and we're going to round to 0 decimal places. Now, when we set this, we have 0 through 9 and the output of 0 through 20. We can undo here, and actually, we probably want to set this to be a maximum of 18, so the 0 is mapped with 0, and every other number is just doubled. The other way to add values is through the curves. We can use an input curve, and we can also use an output curve. Let's go ahead and add a total. We need at least 3 curves require at least 3 input and output value. Curves requires at least 3 input output pairs. Curves requires at least 3 input output key. Curves requires at least 3 value pairs here, so let's add 7 more. And then let's change our decimals to 2. No, let's not do that. Now let's change our values to be minimum of 0, maximum of 100, and an output of 0 through, and an output of -5 through positive 35. Now our values are, you can also modify the curve values itself and change the input and output values based on the actual curve. Bring this down. In this example, both the input and output curves are linear, and we have 21 options that map values from 0 to 100 to -5 to 15. If we put an input curve, if we input the value between 5 and 10, it's going to return the output of the lower value between. If we submit a value, an input value that's between two of these set here, it's going to choose the lower. It's going to round that input to the lower value we have set and return that output. So if we put an input of 6, 7, 8, or 9, or any float between 5 and 10, we're going to get an output of -4. All right. I hope that makes sense. So going back to our condition here on haste, we can now choose our stat effects lookup table and then choose to add an additional minute of time based on the value of our air magic final stat. Multiplied by the output value of the air magic final stat. This means the final stat of air magic is going to be used as the input in the stat effects table, and the output value is going to be multiplied by 1 and then added to 5. That also means that if the player's final stat in air magic is below 20, is 20 or below, the actual time that haste will be active is going to be reduced rather than increased. Hopefully that makes sense, because that's the real value there, is that you can actually map things back and forth and whatnot. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to use a lookup table, and we're going to add just 1 minute for every point in air magic skill. If you click the add new condition time, then you can add additional time based on other parameters. So that means you can have multiple inputs that contribute to the final time that the condition will be active. Let's check out the effects on points. This is where you can choose whether it's periodic or not. If you click periodic, then you have to choose an amount of time to repeat, say every 1 in-game minute. Let me redo this. Let's hop over to the poisoned condition, and check out the effects on points. This is where you can choose whether this is a periodic effect or not. If it's not a periodic effect, it will have effect on points, but it will only happen once when the condition is received. Otherwise, when you check periodic, you can choose a number of in-game minutes, and then this effect will happen every in-game. And then this effect will happen periodically based on the amount of time you've put into this field. Now you can have multiple point effects. For this demo, we're going to focus on just one, and we're going to look at the health. We're going to look at the health of the actor. We're going to look at the health of the actor. So I'm going to choose the health stat there, and we're going to put here -1 to -1 to -2, which means that every time this impacts the target, the health will be reduced by a value between -1 and -2. And similar to the condition time, we also have a store stat available here. Let's add body magic, and you can see that we have an additional we have the option to add additional impact based on the points of body magic or the final stat, or using this lookup table, we can add an impact multiplied by the value, the output value of the stats effects table, with the body magic final stat being used as the input value. With the minimum and maximum per final stat set to be -0.1 and -0.2, if the final stat of the caster in body magic is perhaps 20, then that means that instead of between 1 and 2 every single 1 game minute, the target will lose between 3 and 5. Is that right? Math right? 20.2 times 20 is, oh yeah. Between 3 and 5 health points every single in-game minute. This is a great way to use the same condition, but ensure that it has a stronger impact based on the stats of the caster, the entity, either the player, an NPC, or even an inanimate object that's giving the condition to the other actor. It's important to note that the effects on points will only affect the points of the stat. For a stat like health that's a counter, this is ideal because we're going to be using the points to track the health throughout the game. Other stats like luck, you don't necessarily want those to be increased. You don't generally want the points to be modified. The points can be modified. Maybe the player provides more points to their stat through the game UI, but in general, other things affecting luck as a stat would Stats which can be modified generally you wouldn't use the point effects on those because you want to modify their base value rather than the points. Points is something you can modify, but often that's going to be something that the player can assign to points, or perhaps you assign to an NPC or an enemy by giving them more points as a base value. But then anything that modifies it should modify the value and the proficiency, not the points. So if we check out our exhausted condition, we can set the time to be 5 minutes, and we can make sure that we have no effects on points, and then go over to the stat effects, and here we can select how this condition affects stats of the target who is holding the condition. So let's go ahead and select our main stats, and we're going to choose our might and our speed and our accuracy. We have the option here to affect the base value and the base proficiency of these targets whenever the actor has the exhausted condition in their conditions list. Here I've set a -0.1 proficiency add to each of these values, and this essentially means that there will be a 10% reduction in the final stat of these three things. So if the player's might is otherwise going to be 20, now it will be 18 for the duration of the exhausted condition. Now keep in mind these modifications do stack, so if the player has another thing, like another condition or a item or something else that's influencing these stats, then it won't necessarily be an exact 10% reduction, but the proficiency will be reduced by 0.1 and also be modified by those other things before computing the final stat value of each of these stats. Doesn't really make sense to do adding a source on these. Maybe it does. You can also add a source from another stat. So let's go and select Body Magic and click Add. These checkboxes determine which of the stats the body... Oh, bug. A bug. Well, let's fix this. It's because I unchecked all of them, I suppose. Let's see. Where did we go wrong? If, that's weird, if available, null, return 0. Why is available lookup tables null in general, though? It shouldn't be. It should be saved in the cache. When do we cache? We're going to force this on. Let's see, what do we have here? I guess we can force this. There's no awake option here, right? Set up awake. No, initial. No. So we're going to have to set this. In this case, it's going to be the conditions manager. modification drawer, dictionaries drawer, dictionaries drawer, dictionary drawer. Oh, set modules object drawer. So we're actually be looking at conditions drawer editor, condition drawer editor, modification level or drawer. Let's just look for drawer. None of those. All right, modification. That's for that. Display point effects is going to be part of show points, and we need to look at where is this? Show main settings. Show stats. Okay, so it's actually here. Ensure one modification level. So I guess what we could actually do is on the cache here, reset cache. Where's my reset cache? Reset cache, cache, reset cache. Okay, so it's going to be on the manager. On the manager, we can just set this bool to force cache. So it just force this to cache every single time we're going to do this. We're also going to go to the file. We're going to do this on the stats manager. Reset cache. I think this should work. And I think that's it. And I also want to add this debug log here to be conditions cache reset. All right. Might need to reload something. All right, let's go to exhausted again. Nope. Let's clear this out, see if that helps. Nope. Reset. Okay, reset it. All right, let's try to replicate this. We're looking at health. Where's health? What? Oh, that's right. We weren't looking at health. It's not in the list because it can't be modified. Duh. We weren't looking at health. We were looking at might and other things. So main stats, we were looking at accuracy and might and speed. And then we were adding body magic, and then we selected off, off, off. And then it freaked out. Okay. Okay. Let's try this again. All right, now we can add that, body magic, add. Okay, it's whenever I turn it back on. All right, reset. Let's dig deeper. Stat effects, accuracy, body magic. Okay, let's look at the mastery level drawer editor, and it's going to be add a source from another stat. All right, so draw add source comes after this show mod column base. If this object is not equal to null, then show per skill point. So that's on this per skill point only happens when it's another stat, basically. For those of you who know what that generally looks like. And then for each stat in modification level sources, that's going to be body magic, show mod column. All right. So let's add another thing there. All right. So show mod column, base per skill point, Otherwise, the source name is going to be whatever this is. If it's base, do that. If it's per skill point, do that. If it's base per skill point, do that. Show the source name, info, start row, value, proficiency, headers. Okay, for each target, and we're going to look for the checkbox, which is right here. Okay, set show in inspector. Check get show in inspector. Source target. If it doesn't show, set computation index to 5, which I believe means does no effect, and turn it off. However, it's weird. I've never faced this issue before. And I've used this many times. So who knows? Let's see. If it's not, then we get to choose. So, I mean, if it is, rather. So we're choosing a check to show in inspector. And if we're not showing it in inspector, then we're going to set that and end the row. And that's this. And then we continue. So we go to the next thing. Otherwise, we're going to get the computation index. Well, if it's not 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is no effect. I'm not sure why it's... Oh, we choose 5 because x times value, and the value is going to be 0. Oh. What did I just do again? What's going on here? Let's see. It's got to be available lookup tables, so, or target or source. So it's got to be one of the three. Debug.log. Source is null. Debug.log. Target is null. Debug.log. Available is null. All right, let's figure out which one of these is null. Okay, so available lookup tables is null. I mean, there's always a chance that there will be no lookup tables. So if available lookup tables equals null, then return oh, interesting. Wait a minute. So this is when the target is 5, or when the computation index is 5 for the source and target. Because that requires a lookup table. Should use an enum for this. It'd be a lot easier. get computation index for each stat and modifications, mod style. So raw value, points, proficiency, final stat, lookup of another thing. 4 equals lookup of another stat. 5 equals lookup of source. So what we can do here, no, that wouldn't work here. Well, the real issue first is that available lookup tables null when it shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. So we're supposed to set it here. Let me reset this. And properties is now all screwed up. So we need to delete it. It will reset itself. All right. So again, let's look at our exhausted. And I want to see the mastery levels cache reset. No modifiable stats available. Why? What is going on? What is happening? There are modifiable stats. Okay. Wow. Well, this is why I'm doing this, right? To find the bugs. There seem to be multiple issues, Corey. Right now, the issue is that there are no modifiable stats available, which is not true at all. Which is weird because it was showing it before. So let's look at the cache. And we should look at modifiable stats and figure out where that is going to be showing. So let's see. There are no modifiable stats available. If the modification level modifiable stats length is 0, modifiable stats gets set in the cache modifiable stats, which gets set in the cache right here, and it's supposed to be setting here. So did I accidentally set this to be the wrong thing in my managers? I did. All right, so that's supposed to be true, and this is supposed to be true here. So that was one issue. Properties is being redrawn with the wrong stuff here for some reason. There appears to be an empty type of conditions, which doesn't make any sense. There's only 3. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm assuming it's related to whatever the heck is going on here, because there's only 3 condition types. So that value in properties should be fine. All right, so properties doesn't have any issues now. All right. So let's go to our buffs, or debuffs rather, and exhausted. Cache modification level drawer. Okay, we have our things here now. That should also have given our available lookup tables. This will give you all the game module objects of a certain type, in this case lookup tables, and we're just caching that. So now this should happen every time we select one of these. We should see a reset cache, and we're not seeing a reset cache. Why is that? That's weird. It's happening when we select this window. It's not happening when we select these windows, though. Oh, it happened there. Yeah, this should be fine then. Let's see. Let's see if we can replicate the issue. We're in exhausted. We're going to do this. Add that. Click, click. All right, it's now working. Okay, so that was the issue. It wasn't resetting the cache. Why I had never seen it before is because this view is new. I'm for Game Modules 4, I changed how you can manage things, and so that cache was just not being reset as it should be. So what happens though if we have no lookup table? I suppose it would be good for me to export this as a package. Lookup table. So I'm going to import it after I delete it. And then delete it. And then go to our conditions here. And we have the issue here. Okay. So we need to do basically in the caching phase of this, we need to get the lookup tables and do all that, and then we're going to check for no lookup tables. So if for some reason a user were to delete a lookup table after setting it here, we need to make a modification to this. So for each var object in modification level wow, it gave me all this stuff, but that's not what I wanted. Where is the for each stat? Show mod column. There's a complicated class here. Computation index. So 5 is the one with the lookup tables. So actually we can do that here. If there are no lookup tables available, then change the target and set computation index source target to 4. All right. And we're going to put this up here. And we're going to do debug.log. No lookup tables are available. Changing the computation method. All right. Let's see Oh, yes. And we don't need this at all. Technically, that means this should change. Technically. But since when has that ever come through? All right. Okay, maybe lookup table is in both of these. Oh, we should also say and that equals 4 or that equals 5. Okay. Oops. Okay. And then we're changing it to 3. That might 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. Okay. Still this. Index out of range now. Or, so if it's null, or dot length equals 0. So let's just be explicit here. So if it's null or the length is 0, because now it's not null. We did set it. Now it's empty. There we go. All right, so we have no lookup tables. Okay. Perfect. All right, so that fixes that. All right. File. Import this back. Whoops. Import that back. We have to get the system to recognize that we have it now, which I don't know exactly when that happens, but at some point it'll happen. There we go. Now we have it, so we can do that. All right, so where was I with the video? I think I was saying we can also modify these, so let's start the whole stats section over again. All right, ready? Yep, this is. I'm actually very happy that I decided to go through the motions of doing the tower defense demo game, which is not going to be ready for release. There's just way too much more to do on that. But also these videos, because I'm finding all these like edge cases where it's like somebody's going to run into these and then give me a 1-star review. And I don't want 1-star reviews. I want only 5-star reviews because I think it's a very good package. It's going to make people's lives a lot easier. All right, ready? And resume recording. So in our stat effects, we can modify stat values whenever the target has this condition in their conditions list. So let's add our accuracy and our might and our speed. You can of course have an impact on as many different stats that are modifiable as you'd like. Just like how stats can impact other stats, we can impact the base value and proficiency of these stats right here. So if I just set negative 0.1 for each of these, then there should be about a 10% reduction in the accuracy, might, and speed of the actor who has this condition in their conditions list. Of course, other things might also affect the proficiency of these stats, and if that's the case, then the final proficiency modification is going to be different. Some might give it a boost, some might give it more of a deficit. Either way, there should be about a 10% reduction while the exhausted condition exists. But we also have the ability to add an impact from another stat. So if we choose body magic here and click add, you can see that we have options for each of these target stats. You can turn them off by selecting these checkboxes here, so you can choose which ones are affected and which ones aren't. And then there are multiple options on how the effect is computed. The first option is the raw option, and if this is the case, then you could say you could add a 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, which means that instead of a negative 0.1, the actual impact will be negative 0.8 if the target has the body magic skill. You can also choose based on points, which means there will be an increase of 0.2 for every point, or based on the proficiency. This is going to be the final proficiency, or based on the final stat of body magic as well. You can also use the lookup tables here. You can also no effect. You can also use the lookup tables. In the x times value options, you're able to choose a lookup table that you've created and multiply the values here, whatever the value and proficiency modification is here, multiplied by the output value in stat effects of body magic. So the body magic final stat will be used as the input, and wherever the output is will be multiplied by the values you set right here. The x times value of allows you to choose another stat to multiply the value of, allows you to choose another stat to be used as the input in order to get the output from the lookup table. For example, let me expand this a little bit. This gets a little bit complicated, so let's walk through this. First, the target must have body magic for this to have any impact at all. So if the target doesn't have body magic, then they're just going to get the base impact, and this is just going to be ignored. Now let's say the target does have body magic. Now we're going to get the lookup table. Now we're going to get the final stat of luck, and then use the stat effects lookup table, pass in the luck final stat, and get the output from that lookup table. We're then going to multiply that output value by 0.02 in order to modify the final proficiency change. This allows you to build more complicated connections between all the various stats so that the impacts can be a little bit more nuanced and dynamic in your project. It can be a little confusing, so definitely come to the Discord if you want to talk through your use case and figure out the best way to set up your stats. I'm going to pause this for a second. I got a message I want to read. Yep. 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 Drama. All right. Resume recording. All right. So that's that. All right, so let's look at another example. We'll go over to our Hungry, click on Stat Effects. Oh my gosh, why is it saying no stats are available? Pause recording. It does say this. Interesting. So it's not happening when this window loads. Let's see if we can fix that. Let's see. Condition. Drawer. Condition editor on enable. So we're going to do editor prefs.set bool true. Okay, so I can't use my fancy way of doing it. So if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna also need this in the stats. So stats editor or stat editor on enable. So just set those there. Let's see if that does the trick here. Let's look at poisoned. All right, so we see it here. Okay, good. That solves that. Yeah, come to the Discord. More people need to come to Discord, and more people need to like and subscribe and follow the YouTube. So if you're watching now, the 2 of you or 3 of you who are watching now, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. According to YouTube, I'm only getting like 25 new subscribers a month, which seems very, very low because I went from like 800 to 2,000 in just a few months, and then all of a sudden it just tanked. So I'm not sure why I did differently, but all of a sudden it tanked, and now it's just been 25 a month. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Tell your mom to like and subscribe too. She probably won't care. All right, so that fixes that. So let's go back here. We were looking at exhausted, and I will say resume recording. So let's check out the Hungry and set up these as well. We're going to modify the accuracy and the stamina, and perhaps the wisdom. If I'm hungry, I'm a little less wise too. So we'll set negative 0.1 to each of these as well. And if we look at our poisoned, keep in mind poisoned has a periodic effect. We're going to have a reduction in health every single minute, in-game minute, that the poisoned is in effect. But we can also have additional impacts based on the. We can also affect stats just because poison exists on the. We can also affect stats simply because poison exists. So here we have a reduction in our might of 3 simply because poison exists. We're still going to have a decrease in health every 1 in-game minute, but as long as poison is active, it's going to be the target will have a reduction of 3 in their final might stat. We should make this default to 1, right? Because if it's 0, then essentially it's just going to expire right away. It's essentially instant. So if these are ever 0, we should default them to 0, 1 or something. Let me do that real quick. I'm going to pause recording. Where would this live? This would live in the condition drawer, condition editor. All right, so let's see, minutes. So we're gonna do a thing here. If that equals 0 and that equals 0, then we're going to say max minutes equals 1. And we should actually do this outside of, well, this is probably okay. All right, so that solves that. The other issue then is on our we don't list. I see. So if we do timed periodic, okay, that's fine. All right, no big deal there. It's not a huge issue. It's just convenience sake at that point. All right. There we go. And of course, don't forget to set the timing for your condition. All right. So let's hop over to this instant health condition. And we'll confirm it is set up as an instant condition. I don't need to say that. Instant conditions can't have any effect on stats because they're going to be removed instantly. Any values you set there would just be removed instantly, so there's really no point in even showing you. Instant conditions can't have a stats effect because they are removed instantly. They do 1 point action and then they get destroyed. So if we go to our settings and click on effects on points, we can see that we also we can check periodic, but it won't have any impact. So let's set our condition here to affect our health stat points. Now I'm going to actually set this to be 0 and 0 because this is something that we can modify when we add the condition. I should probably make a video showing that, or should I add that to this, where we show how we modify the condition? Maybe, I don't know. Whoops. So if we were to give a actor the instant health condition as it is without modifying these, there would be 0 impact at all. They would be given the condition, there would be 0 impact to health, and then the condition would be expired instantly. So let's hop over to our player, and I'm going to show an example of how you can modify the values of this condition before giving it to your target. It knows stuff, this AI. Properties.conditions.instant health. It's actually just going to be this. There we go. Give health Let me pause my recording for a second. Give health impact or damage actor, and we're going to say var val or int float value damage damage amount. This is going to be void, and we're also going to have a game modules actor target. All right, and then we're going to do a var health condition equals new game condition from instant health condition. Parent list is going to be actor.conditions. The source is going to be actor. Nope. So it's going to be target.conditions. And okay, let me do this here. We'll restart the recording, or resume rather. Do it like this. In my player script here, I've got a condition property for instant health conditions, which is going to pull the cached value here of instant health condition in the private condition variable. And if it doesn't exist, if it's null, then we're going to look it up via the properties. And to use properties is a very convenient way to look things up. So let me just retype this here. We're going to type in properties. We're going to type in properties.conditions.instant conditions. And you can see here we have our buffs, debuffs, and instant. And then we're going to look up our instant health. You can get the UID, which is a string, or the actual object itself. And this is a reference to the scriptable object, which can't be serialized. And so there's no way for us to actually save this value between play sessions. And now we have this damage actor method, which is going to take a float damage amount and a target. The target's going to be a game modules actor. Now, if your enemies or NPCs or other characters are have an actor class that inherits from game modules actor, then you might want to choose that class instead. So let's start, instead of just giving the condition, let's start by creating a condition. Let's start by creating the condition, and then we'll modify the values. So here we're creating a new game condition, and we're going to pass in our instant health condition. And we need a parent list. Now this is going to be the target parent list. So we're going to choose our target and then conditions. That's the game condition list that this new game condition will live in. And the I have stats source is going to be our actor who's giving the condition. So in this case, we're just type in actor, and we'll leave the rest as default. Do I have a method for this already? I kind of feel like maybe I do, but maybe I don't. Maybe I should look up my own documentation to see if I do. Conditions. Code examples maybe coming soon. Well, I think this is going to be added to that. Constructor. Condition. Nope. It does not look like I have it. Okay. So let me pause the recording and figure out how to do this. I know how to do it, but I need to figure it out again. You know what I mean? So we got our game condition, and our game condition is going to have Point effects. Point effects. Can we do this? How did I do it in... Let's look at the tower defense, because I did this in tower defense demo game. That's why it's fresh in my mind. I've got so many Unity projects open. I'm glad I can do that. All right, so the tower defense demo game here. Let's look at our scenes. Scenes. We're looking at our level 1. And let's see. I guess there's our towers. So let's just look at our gun tower. Damage condition is bullet. Bullet has health and stat required damage. Ah. So that's not quite. It's not quite the same. So I was wrong. In this, the towers have a damage stat, and we're just using the condition just to give -1 per final stat of the damage stat. So it's just a 1-to-1 representation. And that's just because I wanted to demonstrate how to do that. But we don't have the ability to change the stat affected. As I looked at this code and we look at the parent point effect. So, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, we actually might be able to do this. This could be a new thing for me to add. So this is the setup game condition values. So we're looking at the point effects, and we're for each effect in the parent, that's the scriptable object, point effects, we don't want to modify that. We're going to say effect, if stat affected equals null, then continue, do nothing. No stats are affected. That's if the user added more to the list and didn't populate them, basically. Otherwise, add to periodic. So we're going to have to do a modify periodic effects. So let's just do this for here. Public void modify periodic effects, and we're going to do condition point effects. Get rid of these now. Stat affected. Stat affected. And then min points and max points. So we're just going to affect the min points and max points. So float min points, float max points. And then we will say in this, for each var effect and sect periodics. I love the AI, by the way. If the target is not the stat affected, continue. Otherwise, affect value. Is that right? I think that's actually perfectly right. Is that right? That can't be right. Is that right? Add to periodic. Yeah. New value is compute effect source. Oh my gosh. The AI actually did it better than me. All right, I'm going to rename this to be set periodic effect value. And so we're going to do a random range still. And do that. And then what we're actually going to do is return a float, and we're going to return the value that we set. So we're going to say var new value equals that, and so set it to be the new value. And then return -1. That means we did not find a matching effect. Otherwise, we're going to return new value. Manually set the value of a periodic effect between a min and max float value. We'll return the new value if successful, or -1 if not, meaning we were unable to find the effect to change. All right, neat, something new. Resume recording. When the game condition is created, the effect on our health is going to be, I should probably get the right thing in the background. When the game condition is created, it's going to, when the game condition is created, the actual periodic value effect on health is going to be set between 0 and 0. We want to customize that value. So let's call new game condition So we're going to call the new game condition set periodic effect value method. This allows us to choose. This allows us to look up an effect on a stat and then set a new minimum and maximum points. This allows us to set a new value impact based on a minimum and a maximum point value. So let's make sure we pass in our health stat. And our damage amount as both the minimum and maximum. This method will return the damage amount if we did pass in a minimum, if we did pass in different values for the minimum and maximum, the actual impact would be a random value between those two. And the method does return that value. And so we can do something with that value afterwards. The question is, does it work? So we can do this. We can do a test zone. So we're going to do a var or a game modules actor dot enemy actor, or target. We'll just say enemy actor equals new game modules actor, and then we're going to do private void awake. We're going to see enemy actor dot stats. Pause recording. Stats to add, and we're going to add in our stats. So we're going to use our properties dot stats dot main stats dot health, and we're going to give it a value. No value. And then we're going to say enemy actor dot stats dot get. Actually, we don't even need to do the add. We can say get health. Yeah, we don't need to do the add because the get can add it. So get health, add if null, dot set points equals 100, or set points 100. All right, so this is going to add health and then set the points to be 100. And then we are then going to say private void update if input dot get key down. We'll say key code dot space. Then we will debug dot log attacking demo enemy. Health is currently health points. What's going on? Okay. And then we will say damage actor. We're going to pass in 10 and put in our enemy actor as the target. And then debug.log done attacking demo enemy. Health is now. Oh, that's why I did the plus. Points. Okay, let's see if that works. I don't know if it will. We got no reference exception. Nothing's happening. What was our null reference exception? Why isn't it showing up here? Player 28. Let's make this public. Okay. And we actually need to do this a different way. Private enumerator set enemy health, and we're going to do that, then yield return null, but we're going to start that here. Start coroutine, set enemy health, and then we are going to wait until new wait until main blackboard dot blackboard does not equal null. We really want to wait until this is set up, so can we do that? Can we wait until enemy actor dot is setup ready owner, yeah, there we go, dot owner get owner name, here we go, not string dot is null or white space get owner name. Okay, so this should wait until the owner name is not null. before we do all that. And didn't work. But we have an enemy actor here, so that's something. Let's see. Does it actually add anything? I got the null reference, so I'm thinking no. Oh, it does add the stat. Interesting. Well, what's happening here then? Start coroutine. Coroutine. Where's the null reference? If not owner, try get game stat. Clamp max. Well, if owner equals null, then return final amount. And we should probably do a debug log here. Debug.log. Owner is null of object name. Will not clamp value. Oh. I think it's because they don't have health max. It's trying to clamp to health max and the owner doesn't have health max. Maybe that's it. Because I didn't add that. Alright. Now let's hit space. Alright, so it's not working. But it's something. Alright, so let's go to here. Debug.log. Found effect. Target object name. And then we'll do debug.log effect value equals effect value. Value is now effect value. I want to make sure that it's actually setting that value. And then I might use up all of the internet. It's possible. Hi, Jason. How are you? I didn't see you there. Damage inflicted is 10. Okay. Wait. Value is now 10. Damage inflicted is 10. Okay. So that is being set. The problem is that it's not actually being inflicted, obviously, because the value is still 100. So when we do instant actions here, let's check out this. I think this is happening before. So we're going to debug.log do instant actions. My guess is that the instant actions are happening before or not at all. What's going on? Oh, because we never actually give it to the player, do we? That would be an important thing, right? Receive condition, transferred conditions, receive transfer, do instant actions on that transferred, receive condition, game condition null. So we just need to pass this in. And it's going to set the parent list to this. Okay, so I actually did this incorrectly in our player. Let me move our test zone here. So we don't actually need to set the... We could do that. Let me see, hold on. Do we have the source? No, we don't. Receive condition is going to be a pre-set up one. So we are going to reset the owner, but that's fine. We can set that. That's not an issue. All right. And then we need to to be inflicted. Then we need to pass it in. So let me resume recording. And so now we have a debug log that will tell us how much damage it should be inflicted. And now let's pass this game condition to the target. For this, all we have to do is say target.receiveCondition and pass in our new game condition. The game modules will handle everything else from that point on. In my player class, I've quickly made a little test set up here to where when we press space, we're going to attack this demo enemy that we create and just attack it with 10 damage. Note that on awake, we start this IEnumerator where we do set the health to be a value of 100. All right, now we will see if it works. We're actually giving them. So now when I press play, whoops. Let me turn off the Blackboard notes. That's going to be confusing. To turn off the Blackboard things, just click this right to console. All right. So now when I hit spacebar, we can see that I thought I turned that off. Oh, it's on time board. Time board also has a Blackboard. All right. Now when I hit space, you can see that the health starts at 100 and ends at 110 because I forgot to invert the damage amount. Since this is a damage on the actor and we're getting the damage amount, we do need to invert that. So let's just make it a negative damage amount to negative damage amount. There we go. Now every time I hit space, the damage is changed to 10 and the enemy has their health reduced by 10. That's actually really cool. I actually like this improvement I just made. I'll be adding this example to the code examples page on the scripting docs. So definitely check out the scripting docs for all the different code examples for all the different game modules. Well, that's cool. I'm a fan of my work that I did there. All right. So there's only one more thing to look at, and that's the dictionaries, and we're not going to focus too heavily on that. Finally, if you click on the types button in the conditions game module window, you can see that we have our buffs, debuffs, and instant condition. You can see our different condition types here, and opening up the dictionary structure will allow you to add keys to the Opening up the dictionary structure will allow you to add keys to all of the conditions of each type. Just like in the stats deep dive, the conditions of a specific type need to all have the same keys from the dictionaries. Now, I'm not going to set that up here. Check out the dictionaries deep dive for more information on how you can use dictionaries in all of the game modules objects. Check out the dictionaries deep dive to understand how you can use dictionaries in all of the game module objects to add any number of additional data to support your game and help you build your game the way you want your game to be built. Now let's end it by showing something pretty. And to show something pretty, we're going to show this. And we're going to debug start. And we're going to quickly get out of this quest.
Well, that worked.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think I should buy a boat. See you later, sucker.
In this video, we're going to deep dive. Oh, let me just actually show. Yep. So check out the party-based RPG demo game to see how conditions act in. To see how conditions are set up for this project. In this demo game, you can see that when we poison. In this demo game, we can poison our. In this demo game, I'm going to poison this fourth character here. And you can see now that poison will last for a few minutes and that periodically her health is going to be diminished. We also demonstrate how an instant action can heal the player. And how a condition like haste can change the stats of the player. And as haste expires, it's going to be replaced by the condition exhausted, and the stats will also be affected by the new condition. Now that exhausted has expired, we also have the condition. We see the stats have returned to their default values, which are 11 points, but then also modified by item attributes for the character race and the character class. Check out the deep dive video into item attributes and item objects to learn how those can affect actors as well. If you have any questions, come to the Discord, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye-bye. Ha. Ha 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 ha. Stop and save recording. I'll use a bit of that at the beginning of the video. So conditions, deep dive. These videos take a little longer to produce than the quick ones, don't they? But they're probably worth it. They're good, I think. I think they're good. I hope they're good. I think people like them so far. Look at that. That's us. Do you like what I've done here? With the Barbie, and yesterday was Oppenheimer, and today was Barbie, because those are the two big movies that people keep talking about. I really want to see Oppenheimer. I would see Barbie, but I'm not that eager to see it. What's this game, though? I want to see this game. We're going to skip the ad. Skip the ad for the Opera browser. Let's bring back Mosaic.
Crowded.
What is this?
Today let's talk about voxel-based building and terraforming.
Oh,
You want to build a tower and castle? Sure thing.
yeah.
Maybe something darker like a skull castle?
Yeah.
We've got you covered. You want to live underground or build your own dungeon?
Sure.
Just start digging. But let's
Oh.
slow down a little bit and create a new base step by step. This looks like a nice spot for a base.
Okay.
First, let's build a small bridge and lay down the foundation for our buildings using voxel blueprints. Although you can simply build things block by block, blueprints help to lay out bigger structures a bit faster.
Wow.
They are simply a collection of voxels that can be placed at once, but as they are voxels, they will blend together seamlessly however you stick them together. There are also blueprints of various sizes and shapes to give you plenty of options to block out your dream home. Once you are finished with the general layout, you can tweak and refine using single block tools anytime to create intricate shapes and decorations. After creating the building itself, you can make yourself at home using plenty of props for decorating your rooms. We have more than 100 different props in various styles and materials to start with.
Cool.
If you enjoy hunting, you can also collect trophies
I don't.
from bosses you've defeated to show off your achievements. There are various categories of decorative furniture that will give you a stronger rested buff when you leave home for your next adventure. You can also shape the terrain itself to build underground
That's
structures
cool.
like caves or basement to stash all your resources and treasures. Simply use your pickaxe or modified terrain using terrain shaping tools. Furthermore, as your backpack might get full very quickly, you can also place chests. This will allow you to store your valuable items and protect them from potential theft.
I mean, unless somebody just
On your
opens the chest.
adventures, you will discover NPCs that you can settle in your base. You will build them a workshop and housing. They will help you with crafting and send you on quests.
That's the same face.
Additional crafting stations and NPC props will even further expand your available crafting recipes.
That's cool.
On top of that, we have farming, so you can grow all kinds of resources right at home. Just prepare a piece of land with fertile soil, plant seedings, and harvest your rewards. In
Neat.
terms of materials, we have plenty of different variety to satisfy your needs and the way you want to make your dream builds look. The world of Enshrouded is fully voxel-based, which means you have a lot of creative control to create any kind of building and even shape the terrain to your liking.
Huh.
Thank you for watching. You can wishlist Enshrouded now on...
That's pretty cool. Thanks, YouTube, for showing me that. I liked it. But really, I wasn't check and see how many people actually watched the other video. I just posted it earlier today. Hey, look at this. Ranking by views. The deep dive is number 1 of 10. 21 views. And the thing is, I didn't actually post that anywhere. I just published it. So so far it's doing good. Only 21 views, but you know. Only 18. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. Yeah. That's cool. Says 17 views. All right, and 4 likes. Wow, okay. People did like that deep dive, so maybe they'll like this deep dive too. All right, so that's my next step, is to actually make the video now and then publish it on the YouTube. And I should probably eat some food because I'm getting hungry. And I should probably at some point do some physical movement today. I did clean my kitchen. Does that count as physical movement? It probably does, but I should do a little bit more. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you spent some time here. I will talk to you real soon on Discord or somewhere else. Thanks.